Hey guys, welcome to Great Learning. Python is considered to be one of the most popular programming languages that we have today. Not just at the enterprise level, Python also finds its popularity shine among freshers, enthusiast programmers, researchers, and of course, experts. Now, this is the case because Python is a beginner friendly programming language like no other. If you're a person who is looking towards a programming career and you haven't had any prior experiences with a programming language, it is highly recommended that you get started with a language such as Python. With this, you would be curious about how you can go on to begin your wonderful journey with Python, right? Well, keeping exactly this in mind, we here at Great Learning have come up with this video discussing how you can get started with Python if you're coming from a non-programming background. With this, I know you guys are super excited to get started. Well, what are we waiting for? My name is Anirudh Rao. Let's go.
Before we get started, I want to introduce you to Great Learning Academy. This is a free initiative by Great Learning where you can have access to over 200 plus courses with 1000 plus hours of free content on all of the trending high demand domains absolutely free. Register now to complete the course and get your free certificate of completion as well. Check out the link in the description box of the video below for more details. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. This is done to make sure you do not miss out on any of the new updates or video releases from Great Learning. And of course, guys, if you enjoy this video, show us some love and do like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, right? So make sure you share this video with your friends, colleague, and everyone who can make use of it. And at the end of it, make sure to comment on the video if you have any queries or any suggestions, and I'll be more than happy to respond to all of your comments.
Alright guys, coming to the agenda of this particular course, Python for non-programmers, we definitely have to start out this particular course by taking an understanding of why we should even go on to learn Python in the first place, right? So we're going to cover that. After we understand why we need to learn Python, the next thing we're going to take a look at is all the skills, in fact, that are required to learn Python itself. Once we clear through all the skills, you'll be very curious to understand what are some of these libraries that make Python super popular, right? So what are these libraries which sort of give more meaning to the language itself? So we're going to check out all of that, and after which we're going to have a fantastic walkthrough where we're going to be taking a look at the entire syntax of Python in a very simple fashion to show you how fun and easy it is to work with this programming language, right? Perfect. Now after that, we are also going to take a look at the Python developer salary trends, so make sure you guys are watching till the end of this particular course, right? So I hope everything that we're about to cover in the agenda for this course is clear to everyone. Now without further ado, let's get started.
So now guys, you will have a question saying, okay, so why should we even learn Python? What should make me learn Python? You know, I might not be from a computer science background. I do not know programming. I do not like programming. Is Python for me? What's so special about Python that everyone is learning on it and people find it easy to pick up on? Well, one of the most important things you really have to know is that Python is trending. Yes, it's a trending programming language. Now, this is a very rare kind of a sight in the case of IT because when something is trending, the entire world jumps on it. In this case, even before it became trending, the entire world jumped on Python because everyone realized how powerful it is. When you look at the trends, when you look at how well Python is received among its community, among members and the data science forums especially, you have to understand that this gets a lot of outreach, this gets a lot of search. In fact, if you look at the graph, right from, be it 2005-ish, not long ago, right, 10 or 15 years ago, and then look at the spike that starts at maybe 2012 and the graph just keeps going up and up. Now, this is because there is a steep rise in interest for all the people around us because they know, first of all, that everyone requires Python developers across the globe. Second is that, having a career in Python is amazing because you will have a lot of impact and you'll be writing code, which is amazing to work with, first of all. And secondly, it's very important that, when something is trending, if you try to work with the trend rather than against the trend, you can have a benefit at the end of it, be it knowledgeable benefits or be it monetary benefit, right? So something at the end is always waiting and it is something that's going to help you, majorly. And when you look at what we can do with Python in the world around us, the domain support for Python is absolutely amazing. Everything from web development to big data to game development, user interface development, and data science, of course. Now, with web development, I'm not sure if you guys have worked with Python, but since I'm going to aim it at an audience who are beginners and intermediate people, with web development, you have to understand that back in the day there were only 2 or 3 programming languages. For example, think about HTML, think about CSS, think about JavaScript, which were the most important aspects of web development, right? Now, with Django and Flask and all these other libraries, Python is coming to the center stage of web development where everyone wants this. If you're applying for a web developer's role, there's a very good chance people are going to ask you if you know a Python library to work with that, right? So that's important. And when you think about it in the world of big data, well, there are a lot of libraries which will help you handle big data in the case of Python. And then game development, we have a lot of libraries as well. Pygame is a very popular library where you can build games, for not much of an effort to do it. And in the case of user experience development, right? Now, again, this was a domain which was untouched by Python until the last couple of years ago. And then people realized there are tools and technologies that you can work with using Python. You can in fact create a beautiful looking user interface and drive a great user experience as well. And then data science. Do I even have to talk about data science? Because that is the center of all of Python's use, at least in my opinion, because that is where it has had its, it has had its glory, I would say. And secondly, it is where I believe it is definitely, popular too. And then when you're looking at why Python is in fact so popular and liked by the community itself, you really have to understand 4 important points. One important point is that it's an interpreted language, unlike other languages which are compiled languages. Now, in the case of interpreted languages, what usually happens is the code that you write in, it gets executed line by line. So every single line gets executed. If it's all right, the program moves on. If it's not all right, the program is halted there. Rather than making sure that your entire program is compiled at once and then executed, right? So, for example, if you guys have worked with languages such as C, C++, that is the case there, right? And then when you look at how easy Python is to learn, you really have to understand that the code is amazingly written in a way where it is very close to the English language itself. It is 90% in a format written where you'll be literally talking to people. It's called as a high-level programming approach that people have taken in developing Python. So even a person who doesn't know Python can look at some basic code and guess what's happening in the code. That is important, right? And then built for dynamism. See, in a world where we're living, dynamic web pages, dynamic web applications, and a lot of dynamism is the center stage. People do not want to rebuild and start pushing out content. They want the content as it is and edits to go on in the flow and then work without having anything to be paused. That is a dynamic approach, and Python helps for that as well. And of course, it is open source. At the end of the day, you really do not have to pay a penny to work with Python, right? That's amazing. C#, Java, SQL, of course, right? So all of these are programming languages, and they're very popular ones as well. But when you compare it head on with Python, I think it's not a bias, but it's the general opinion of the public that Python definitely is more powerful, more easier to use, and you can do a lot of you can have a big outcome with a lot less of code with Python. And then it is a popular choice among a lot of people because it has a huge library, right? It has thousands and thousands of modules modules, libraries, frameworks, whatever you want to call it. It has all of these. So even if you have a very complex problem that you're breaking your head upon and you're wondering how I can solve it, there is a very good chance that there is going to be a package in Python that will simplify your task in a long way, in a huge way. And of course, large community, there are hundreds and thousands of Python developers across the globe. So to reach out to a Python developer is easy, and you can take help from all of them as well. And as I mentioned, the syntax is amazingly easy to read. You do not have to put in a lot of efforts, unlike languages such as C, C++ or JavaScript. And it's a strongly typed language. A strongly typed language is very advantageous to the user in a way where if you have certain data that you have put into a variable, you do not have to specify saying, hey, the data that I've put in is an int, integer. The data that I've put in is characters, strings, or anything. Python is intelligent enough to understand what data you've put in and how it has to store it, right? So that is amazing. Coming to the skills that is needed to learn Python, right? So what do you need to learn Python? Let me tell you 4 important requirements that you really should work on. One is being data oriented, right? So being data oriented means that you have a love for data, you have a passion towards solving a problem using data, right? Now this is something which you might already be doing, but you wouldn't know it. For the people who love working with puzzles and all of that, you guys are already good at pattern matching, pattern recognition, all these things. The second important requirement you would require is, of course, out of the box thinking. Now understand this. I'll give you a very simple analogy. Think about you walking from your house to the nearest ice cream parlor, right? There is not only one road that you can take. I'm sure you can go via multiple streets and you can take n number of routes to get there. Right now, that is an important thing, that you have to have this kind of a thinking when you're attacking a problem. Now every problem will not just have one solution, it can have 100 solutions, and a person who can think at least 15 or 20 of these 100 solutions is considered to be a very intelligent person in the field of development. So have an out of the box thinking, think unlike what everyone else is doing, see if you can find a solution that way, right? And the third important skill you'll require is logic building. Now, see, sometimes it so happens that you are very good at logic, even though you might not have chances to build the logic and work with a programming language. In this particular case, it is an amazing skill because what I have seen in beginners is that they can pick up amazingly quick on the syntax, but when it comes to building the logic, they are a little slow. If you already have this skill of building logic and understanding how you can work with it easily, well, you will go a really long way in learning Python and without having to put much effort to solve problems as well. And then talking about how you can scale yourself up, right? See, Python is one of the most demanding job roles out there right now, not in terms of your time and effort, but in terms of your knowledge, in terms of how you can quickly pace up to the trends, how quickly can you use the latest libraries that are out there, latest version of Python, be it, or anything else to provide the fastest, most effective solution that you can in your power. Now, to do that, you have to be good at learning, first of all. It's not just being good at learning, it's about learning right, because you will not have a lot of time to just sit and keep learning and then work on it later. So having the ability to learn is amazing. And then coming to Python itself, how can one get started with Python? As always, right, the first important step to learning Python or any programming language is you spend time to learn the fundamentals, learn the basics, understand how Python itself works. See, Python is a high-level programming language. It's a multi-paradigm language. It's an object-oriented language. It's a high-level language. So all of these keywords, right, you need to know what these mean. You need to know the basics of how Python came about. Why do we use Python? Again, we checked all of this out. You need to understand where Python is used, which I bet you already know at this point. The next thing is to actually start using Python. Now, to actually start using Python, you really need to work with the foundations, right? Now, see, there is a very good chance you can skip across the foundations and fundamentals and build upon, and later in a point of time, you will be stuck because your foundations are not strong enough, right? So if a building's foundation is not strong enough, a little wind or a little earthquake can bring the entire building down. Now, this you will not realize until you are a long way into your career or into your learning. So to avoid that kind of a thing, I would highly suggest, ladies and gentlemen, you work on the basic. Understand the syntax, understand what Python is offering to you, understand what it is that you require, and then build upon that gap and bridge it. Right? So after learning all the fundamentals, the next important thing is that you will be picking your own domain to work with: web development, data science, AI, and all of that, right? So Python actually provides solutions in all of these domains. Now, it is extremely vital in step number 2 that you understand what it is that you want to do. So be it in multiple domains, you need to know what it is that you want to do. Now, I'm sure a lot of the people will say, hey, I do want to get started with data science, or I do want to get started with web development when we are looking at Python. Yes, that is the most popular application out there. But first, you need to know that, hey, this is what I want to do. You need to know where it is that you want to go, what domain is it that attracts your time, Probably when we were kids, when we looked at ice cream, we were really happy, right? Now you're supposed to look at IT domains, and one of these domains is going to make you happy just like that. Now pick up that domain and work towards that domain using Python itself. Now, if you are very much interested in finance, a simple Google search which says, Python for finance is going to bring you a ton of articles where you can see how Python is having an impact in the field of finance. That's very interesting, right? So you do have to think like that. And then, of course, working with data. What do you do after knowing which domain you have to pick and you know the basic syntax of Python? Next, you have to learn the data structures. Now, ladies and gentlemen, data structures is one of these aspects of any programming languages, which is again part of a foundational concept, but I did not want to include it there because this is a specific thing that you have to know about. A data structure is a unit of how you can arrange and produce and manipulate data in a structured way. If you are if you have ever given a Python interview before in your life, or any programming language, data structures is one of these important concepts where a lot of interviewers love asking a lot of questions on. Why do you think that is the case, right? Data structures are tricky and people tend to skip this and learn ahead. So the interviewers know that you might not have spent a good amount of time here. Hence, they try to see if you actually have a good depth of knowledge. So you have to understand, if you know data structures in detail with Python, well, it'll help you a long way, all the way from being a beginner to being a data scientist, all the way from being a beginner to being a web developer as well. Understand that data structures in Python is something which is extremely important. And then when you're learning a new programming language, just try to see what others are doing, try to see what other domains are popular. Now, for example, whenever people think about Python, they always think about data science, but Python in the field of big data, Python in the field of game development is also very, very popular, right? So you have to be this person who will reach out to people, ask for help whenever it's needed, or just look at their work and understand what these people are doing. You have to learn from experts. For example, when you are tuned into this session, I am a subject matter expert on Python. I am a subject matter expert on AI, data science, deep learning, and all of these domains, and I can help you out with all the questions that you have. So it is very vital that you reach out. Once you ask for help, you're going to get help, and it's not just directly saying, "Hey, I want help." It's just looking at their projects, looking at their domains, seeing how their project is having an effect on the world, and then you trying to see, if you would be interested in doing that, right? Again, I'll give you a very good ice cream analogy. If you're a person, your entire life, if you have eaten just vanilla or chocolate or something, and you've never touched blackcurrant, right? Now, even if you have never tasted blackcurrant, you would not know if you like it or not. You might think, hey, I don't like it because I haven't tried it, but it won't make sense. It's just you guessing that you won't like it. But for you to actually not like it, you have to try it first, right? Same analogy in the case of programming as well. You have to try something to know if it's for you or not. On the surface, it might look difficult, but I would highly suggest you spend a good amount of your time looking out into other domains after you already focus on your domain. Now, this is an advice which not a lot of people are going to give you, but once you start in your domain, and if you took a wrong call at the start, you have a plan B here where you can look into other domains as well, in case if that is the criteria. Apart from that, for curiosity's sake, to increase your knowledge, and of course to be a person who knows a lot about Python, you need to do this as well. Anyway, coming back, the next important point is you have to challenge yourself with complex problems in Python. It is very important not only that you learn Python, it is that you need to learn things which you haven't learned yet. Now, what is one of the fun ways to do that? It's challenges, right? So one of the most important things, you guys might have heard of Kaggle. Kaggle is a place where a lot of competitions happen, where people come together to solve different problems in different ways altogether, right? So participating in Kaggle challenges is one of the important aspects that you can definitely look towards, because only when you push yourself out of your comfort zone, be it in programming languages or be it anything in IT, will you learn, right? In that particular case, it's not only Kaggle. You can just pick up any programming quizzes, programming challenges, and then get started with it. See if you can work on it. If you can do it well enough, step up the difficulty. If you cannot do it, understand why couldn't you do it, what it is that you need to learn, and sit and learn that. Pretty simple, right? So when you think about it, it's really so much of things that you can do. All you have to do is, guys, you have to push through. You have to learn the basics, and then you have to venture out to see where you can build upon. Now, I cannot tell you, hey, everyone come towards data science, or hey, everyone go towards web development. It is in your interest that you have to guide yourself through. But then to walk you through the path, we definitely are here to help you out there. So once you have pushed through challenges, once you have finished a couple of challenges, what it is that you can do? Well, one important thing is that you have to prepare for your job. Now, after all your preparation, what is your goal? Right. So coming on, preparing for jobs is something which is very interesting. Again, we have a section in Great Learning Academy, which is completely towards job preparation as well. So make sure to check that out too. You have to understand that Python is a very popular programming language. This means that there are a lot of people who are learning Python. And thirdly, if there are a lot of people learning Python, if you go to a job interview, you will have high amount of competition, right? So with high amount of competition, to get ahead of this competition, you have to prepare. So understand what it is that people are asking in the interviews, so you can look towards interview questions in Python, prepare for those questions. So when you ask that in the interview, even the tricky questions, even the most interesting questions, out of the box thinking kind of questions, you have the capability to answer. So prepare for interviews, use interview questions sets to learn, and just see if you can learn something which is probably unique to the company that you're applying for. If you applied for a healthcare company where you want to become a Python developer, see what products they sell, see what is the methodology that they use to get there. And of course, guys, you have to be a little innovative. Now, I have the replies from all the people who with your goals in Python, and it's beautiful to read all your goals, because at the end of the day, I am sure with all the people who have tuned in here, I am extremely confident in you guys that you guys can get to your goal if you take it slow, if you take it easy, and at the end of the day, you keep your learning structured. Because if you rush through a programming language, it becomes very difficult. And I think a lot of you people who might have rushed through a programming language before can agree, right? You will get burnt out, and you will not have a good impact on yourself. You're learning, and then you'll get bored of it, and you'll quit Python, right? So that is the important thing. Take it slow, keep it structured. So, it doesn't end with you having just a job in Python, because once you have, you might have prepared for your job, your career is started, you're at your first job. Of course, they're going to give you training depending on the company and all of that. But it is always added knowledge that you guys know all the packages and the libraries that you might have to work with, because these libraries and packages in themselves are huge. I'll tell you that. Because you will require a lot of learning, you'll require a lot of knowledge to understand how easy your work will become later. So once you learn the libraries, later things will start becoming easy. But then, guys, you have to get there, right? So these are like assets. You really need this in your programming language journey. Now, there are multiple packages, among which I think two of the most popular packages are NumPy and Pandas, which I can think of. NumPy is used for numerical computation, and Pandas is used for statistical analysis. You can work with single dimensional data, you can work with multi-dimensional data, you can combine and store this data in data structures. For example, Pandas has something called a series and data frames as well. So you can work with your data, manipulate it, store it in different forms, and then later put it for use. Since you're looking towards Python in web development, Python in testing, Python in data science and all of that, you will be working with a lot of data, and having the knowledge of these things is extremely important, ladies and gentlemen. And for all the dear viewers who are very much interested towards the field of artificial intelligence, data science, and deep learning, well, and of course machine learning as well, you will require knowledge about all of these, or one of these at least. Scikit-learn is a very popular learning package, Python package. All of these are free. Again, whatever we're discussing here is completely free. Scikit-learn is very popular to work with machine learning and machine learning algorithms. TensorFlow is amazing, especially when it comes to deep learning solutions. And PyTorch, TensorFlow is again from the people at Google. PyTorch is from the developers at Facebook. Facebook, when it was first built, they used a neural network package called Torch, and then they added Py to it to denote that they're working with Python. So then it became PyTorch, right? So these packages are some of the things. If you're looking towards data science, I would highly suggest that you guys have it in your arsenal, because it's going to take you a long way. Just know the basics of it, even if you aren't looking towards data science, because there's a good chance that an interviewer want to see if you have explored out of your path, out of your domain, and can ask you a question saying, hey, what is TensorFlow, why is it used for, right? If you do not know, or if you've never heard of TensorFlow, there's a good chance your competition might know it, right? So make sure you do know that. And then it's not just about bringing in data, working with it, and all of that. It's all about keeping your data understandable by everyone else, right? Now, if there is a problem and you're intelligent enough to solve it, well and good. But what if I cannot understand your solution at all? Correct. To understand your solution, you need to make sure that a wide variety of audience can see what it is that you're doing, can understand what it is that you are trying to portray or you're trying to produce there. So we have beautiful libraries in Python called Matplotlib and Seaborn. This is used for beautiful data visualization applications where you can take in a lot of textual data, convert it into beautiful looking graphs, dashboards, and all of that, right? So these two libraries are again very, very popular. The syntaxes of Python, I want to show you how easy it is to work with Python itself. So guys, give me 1 second. Let me work on the practical aspect of it. Basically for all the people who do not know, this is Google Colaboratory. Google Colaboratory is a Python Jupyter notebook which is hosted on the Google Cloud platform. This means that you do not have to install Python on your computer. You do not have to install any libraries. Sometimes they will not work, sometimes they will work. A lot of people whom I have seen who have told me, hey, I quit Python, is because they think it is complex to set it up. Let me tell you, it is not really complex. All you have to do is have a Google account, open collab.research.google.com. You can just type in your Python code, hit play, and it works. Right now, I see that the screen is a little low in font. So let me quickly zoom in. All right. Now, to look at some basic syntax in Python, right? Now, you do not really have to know much about Python. We're going to talk about comments, right? You have very simple, you have 3 lines of code in Python. In fact, you have the meaning right next to it as well. So what do you think this does? X equal to 3, x equal to x into 3, print x. X is a variable. We have put in the value 3 inside x, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to multiply x here. X is 3, so this becomes 3 into 3, and x's value now gets updated from 3 to 9. So as soon as we go and print x, we're trying to say, hey, what is the output of this? So it's going to print 9. As soon as I hit run, you're going to see the output is 9, right? Pretty simple. Now, why have I mentioned comments in Python, and why have I been very specific about this? Now, as a good programmer, as a good person basically who wants to help see, for example, if you're working in a multinational company, you will not be the only person who's working on code. You'll be working in a team, and there's a very good chance this piece of code is accessed by a lot of people. Now, if you've written something that they cannot understand, it is meaningless. So make sure you comment your code. Comments will not get executed in Python, right? Now I can put in whatever comment I want. For example, hello dear learners, right? Python will not execute this. But if I remove the hashtag, it doesn't understand that it is a comment anymore. Now, if I run it, it's going to give me an error. It is like, what is this? It doesn't understand that. But a quick hashtag, it's a comment. Comments completely are ignored by the Python interpreter. And when I run this, we are back at the code. You can have single line comments. This is a single line comment. You can have multi-line comments. Well, you just have to put a hashtag. If you put a hashtag, it's a comment. As simple as that in Python. And while we get to that, the next thing is using variables in Python, right? Now, what does this print, ladies and gentlemen? The simple 4 lines of code. It says number of laptops equal to 2, owner name equal to Anirudh Rao. Well, that's my name. I'm trying to print number of laptops, and I'm trying to print the owner's name. 2 is an integer value which I've assigned to a variable called number of laptops. It can be anything. I can put in my name here if I want to as well. And then I have another variable called owner name, and I've put in my name. This is a string. As you can see, I have used double quotes, or if you use single quotes, that becomes a string. It has a character data. That's what you're telling Python. And then you're printing it. Whenever we say print in the programming language, you're trying to output that. Now let me run this. It has has to say number of laptops equal to 2, owner's name equal to Anirudh Rao. How nice is this? How simple is this, right? You didn't do anything. You just wrote 2 lines of code. But to go on to work with Python, again, comments are very important. You're going to see there is comments here. If you have a question saying, can I just put in whatever I want for the name of the variables? The answer is no. There is an important concept called as reserved keywords. Reserved keywords is something that you cannot use in Python. For example, if you do this, for is equal to 10, this will not work. This is going to give you an error straight up because for is a reserved keyword. See, it says invalid syntax. It says you cannot use this. There are many other keywords. For example, and you cannot use and. There are so many. There's around 33 or more reserved keywords which you cannot use whenever you're working with Python. You really have to stick to the names as well. But these names you can have it anything. Start with a character. You can start with an underscore and then you can have anything. Number of laptops 222. Well, guess what? This is a very good variable. Of course, you have to keep it meaningful. Now, if I just, instead of number of laptops, if I just put it A, if I just put this as B, then yes, it would still work. But what is A? What is B? What are you trying to tell people, right? So you have to make sense of variables. Sibi says, can you give real world example of variable? Well, Sibi, variables are literally used everywhere. They are the basic concepts of Python. As you can see, this is an integer value. Now, if I have to make it a floating point value, I'm sure you've learned in your schools and in your younger days, 2.5 is also a number, right? In many cases, you cannot have 2.5 in real life. You cannot have 2.5 apple that occurs naturally. If you have 3 apples, if you cut one and throw away the other half, you have 2.5 apples. But in the case of numbers, we can have anything, right? There's a very famous number, blah, 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 all of this. 3.1418, something like this is the value of pi. That is a number as well, right? Okay, Min says the Jupyter Notebook in my Anaconda does not run pandas and NumPy. Well, that is exactly my point, Min. You can actually go on to solve that first of all easily. They do work if you can, if you've had some experience working. But what I would suggest is just get to this website, man. It's collab.research.google.com. After this session, make sure to get here. You will need a free Google account. You'll just start typing in Python, import the libraries, and get started with it. You do not have to install anything. It's really easy. It's really intuitive to work with this as well. Right, guys. So again, let me just print it out, fix the error, and then perfectly. Next, we can check out basic arithmetic operation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to head to the comment section. This is basic stuff. I want you guys to give me the output here. Right, so A is a variable with value 10, B is a variable with value 6. So what happens when we execute all of this? I've already put down the answer in the comments. What is 10 plus 6? It's 16. What is 10 minus 6? It's 4. What is 10 into 6? It's 60. What is 10 by 6? Now what's the answer going to be for 10 by 6? Because 6 does not, 10 does not fit in 6 equally, right? And then what is 10 percentage 6? What are we doing with 10 percentage 6? Well, it's called as a modulus operator. Now, what a modulus operator does is instead of giving you the divider output, for example, if B was 5, 10 by 5 will give you 2, right? That is what division does. With modulus, we are trying to print the remainder out. Now, if you divide 10 and then you just try to divide 10 by 6, you will have a remainder. You're going to put in 6 2s are 12. You'll have a remainder called 2. That is exactly what we're trying to print in modulus, 2. And then you have exponentiation. Exponentiation is basically raising this to the power of this. Now, if I put A double star B, it means raise 10 to the power of 6, right? Let me run this piece of code. Now, as I told you, 10 plus 6 is 16, 10 minus 6 is 4, 10 into 6 is 60. Division, you're going to get an answer, of course. When you go on to hit 10 by 6 in a calculator, it's going to give you 1.666. And then look at the modulus, right? So now as soon as you go and divide 6 with 10, what is going to be the remainder value? You're going to get the remainder value with modulus, and 10 raised to 6 is how much? It's 10 lakh, right? So this is exactly the value that you have gone here. And let's quickly look at 2 more things. Now we're looking at logical operators in Python. A is 5, B is 8. Now we're trying to see if we can use basic English language here. Now, is a greater than 3 and a less than 7? Is both of these conditions true? Is a greater than 3 first of all? Yes, a is 5, 5 is greater than 3. And means yes, this has to be correct, and the second part also has to be correct. Is a less than 7? The answer is correct, right? A is greater than 3, which is 5. A is less than 7, which is 5. So this is perfect. So whenever you use a logical operator called as AND, if both of the conditions are true, it is going to print exactly that. It's going to say, hey, it is true. What you say is absolutely correct. And then you have another one. You have what we call as OR. OR literally says, hey, either this or this. I don't mind whichever one is correct, but one has to be correct if you want a true output. Is A greater than 6? The answer is no. A is 5. 5 is not greater than 6. And then is B less than 7? The answer is, well, is 8 less than 7? The answer is no, right? So if either of these conditions are true, then only it will return true. And then you have a condition which is not. Now, not is one of these amazing things which is going to reverse everything literally. Now, is A greater than 3? Is 5 greater than 3? The answer is yes, right? But if you have a not before that, it's going to read the opposite of it. Is A greater than 3? The answer is true. But since a not is present there, it's going to say false. A is not greater than 3. Now, as you can look at it, it's going to say true, false, false. True because both of these conditions are correct. False because we are never checking any of these conditions to see if it works or not. None of these conditions are true, so it's false. And then, is A greater than 3? The answer is supposed to be true, but still it is false because we are making use of a not. There, correct? And then when we look at user input, user input is one of these amazing things where you can enter and work with Python. For example, let me start typing in this piece of code. It says, where do you live? I say I live in Bengaluru. As soon as I hit enter, you say the city you live in is Bengaluru. How nice is this, right? Now, coming back to discuss about a Python developer's salary, the roles are amazing and the salary trends are really nice. Now, you're going to start your career as an associate Python developer. You will get an average salary in India of somewhere around 5,60,000 rupees per year, per annum, of course, and then around $66,000 in the USA. Now, if you're a senior Python developer with maybe 2 or 3 or even 4 years of experience, you can have an average salary of around 10 lakhs per annum in India and around $97,000 in the USA. And once you become a lead and once you have a lot of knowledge about Python, you can become a lead project developer where the salary is above 20 lakhs per annum in India and above $115,000, $120,000 in the USA. So looking at salary numbers, you will have a question saying, I am from a mechanical background, I'm from a civil background, I do not have a graduation in computer science. Will I still get these salaries? Now, your salary does not depend on your graduation. Your salary depends on the skill that you have. How quickly can you solve a problem? How effectively can you work with Python? And how well can you add value to the company you're applying for? If you have good enough skills, people from across the world are ready to pay you and hire you. Now, how many Python developer roles did you see getting laid off during the pandemic? Very, very, very little, a minuscule amount, right? Why? Even during the pandemic, even during a small recession period that we had, everyone still wanted to hire more Python developers because they had problems that required solving. If they didn't want Python developers, they would have just fired everyone, right? That didn't happen. People know the value of Python development, and that is very important for you to understand. And with this, you will have a complete knowledge of how one can sit and work towards having a beautiful career in Python. Everything from understanding foundations all the way till preparing for a job. You can get ready and have a course, start with a course in Python, and then you can definitely work towards specializations, post graduations and whatnot with Python. And you guys can definitely work towards your expertise there.
Alright guys, so to summarize everything we have learned on this particular course, Python for non-programmers, we started out by understanding why you guys even should consider learning Python, right? After that, we made sure to take a look at all the skills that are extremely important, to learn Python in itself. Now, after understanding all the skills required, we ensure to take a look at some of the most popular libraries that are there. And also we had a fantastic hands-on session where we had the walkthrough, where I walked you through the entire syntax of how to demonstrate how simple and easy Python is to work with, right? Perfect. Now, after that, we also made sure that we checked out some fantastic trends in the terms of salary for Python developers as well. So guys, with this, I hope everything we've covered in this particular course is clear to all of you all. On that note, you've reached the end of this course. Make sure you guys are checking out Great Learning Academy for more such as this. On that note, thank you again and have a nice day.
I want to introduce you to Great Learning Academy. This is a free initiative by Great Learning where you can have access to over 200 plus courses with 1000 plus hours of free content on all of the trending high demand domains absolutely free. Register now to complete the course and get your free certificate of completion as well. Check out the link in the description box of the video below for more details. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. This is done to make sure you do not miss out on any of the new updates or video releases from Great Learning. And of course, guys, if you enjoy this video, show us some love and do like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, right? So make sure you share this video with your friends, colleagues, and everyone who can make use of it. And at the end of it, make sure to comment on the video if you have any queries or any suggestions, and I'll be more than happy to respond to all of your comments.